Folks, a very windy day here in Iowa today. Far too windy to take any video outside, and I'm tired of shooting videos inside the shop with the same backdrop all the time. So I'm out in our cold storage, and this is one of our antique tractors, 1973 7520. This was the ultimate machine back in 1973. We have it around and use it just occasionally for some tillage, and it's just nice to have. Today I'm going to talk about something very important. It's because in my book I talk about we need to avoid processed foods, and I realized that I didn't do a complete job of explaining what is processed foods. So I'm going to break foods into three categories. We have whole or raw foods, then we have minimally processed foods, and then we have ultra processed foods. And it's the ultra processed foods that we really want to avoid. Stay tuned. I give you a little whiteboard lesson. Okay folks, I'm set up on the side of the tractor here, and we have unprocessed food, minimally processed food, and ultra processed food. So unprocessed food is basically the whole food or food in its raw form. Now when we have minimally processed food, then we do some activity to it to maybe make it easier to transport, make it easier to keep. Small things like this: heating, it could be even pasteurization if you're talking about dairy products, cutting, reshaping the product, grinding, for example, grinding wheat into flour, or if it's fruit, you can do juicing. Okay? In the case of ultra-processed foods, then all bets are off. You can separate the components, like the bran from the outside and the germ on the inside. They have many additions added, for example, oils, salts, sugar, artificial flavorings, artificial colors. It could be many things. So the best thing to get an idea of what's going on with these types of foods is just look at the ingredient list. For a raw or whole food, it's basically just one ingredient. If you have a minimally processed food, the ingredients are going to be less than about 3. If you have a ultra-processed food, you're going to have 4 or sometimes many more ingredients. So I'll give you some examples of each of these, and I start off with a list that I found from Harvard. So I went online and just found this table, and I just reproduce it here because I think it's a good start. And I'll have another table with some more examples of my own here in just a minute. So for example, if you're talking about corn, obviously corn on the cob is best, just to heat it up and eat it as corn on the cob. But the next level for minimally processed would be canned corn. There they're going to cook it so that it will keep, and then the water that's added in the canned corn, as you know, has some salt added to it. And then ultra processed corn would be something like corn chips. Okay? Next example is apples. So apples can get turned into apple juice, or you go all the way out to ultra processed, you have apple pie. Next would be carrots. We can make carrot juice, or we can go to make carrot cake in the ultra-processed case. Another example is wheat. Wheat can get turned into flour in minimally processed condition, or you can go all the way to make some dessert, for example, like a cookie. Okay? I will have some other examples here. Just 1 minute, let me change my whiteboard. Hang on. Okay folks, now I give you a few examples of my own. And we have ground meat. Then in the minimally processed case, that could be patties, for example, grilled patty on the grill. You might be able to add some salt, pepper, garlic, whatever types of seasonings you want that's still minimally processed. Highly processed versions would be things like sausage or beef, case might be jerky. Okay, next is chicken breast. If you grill a chicken breast, again, you can have your seasonings, a little bit of olive oil. That's still minimally processed. But the complete processing, ultra processing, would be chicken nuggets. Okay? Oats, my favorite. Rolled oats would be considered minimally processed because it's roasted and then rolled out flat. And then if you go further, you would go to a boxed oat-based cereal. Next, I have raw nuts. Raw nuts you can have minimally processed form as roasted nuts. And then the ultra-processed would be an energy bar, where they're going to add some type of corn syrup and sugars, salts, and maybe artificial flavorings, a whole bunch of things that are in an energy bar. You can see all those from the ingredient list. So why do I break it into these three categories for health and fitness? Folks, we do this because we want to try to avoid the ultra-processed foods. Now, if you have ultra-processed food once in a while, is that going to kill your health? Is that going to kill your diet? Is that going to kill your health and fitness? Absolutely not. But the point of this talk is that we don't want the majority of our foods to be here in this ultra-processed category. We want to move from this section further and further back to the unprocessed case. And some of these, like for example, I like to put in the rolled oats because I think it's perfectly fine to have minimally processed foods. And that means you look at the ingredient list on the package, you should see typically less than 3 ingredients in that case. And then if you have a chance, you try to have more of the raw or whole foods. For example, you have a piece of fruit. You wash it and eat it. Or in the case of a banana, you peel off the skin and eat it. So that's the best section over here. And obviously, in today's diet, we're not going to have only the unprocessed foods. That's just crazy, not practical today. But there's nothing wrong with the minimally processed foods if you manage these correctly. And again, we try to avoid the ultra-processed foods and at least bring them down to a minimal level. So I hope this different classifications makes more sense to you. And then when you go to the supermarket to shop for those good snacks, to shop for those good foods to stock in your refrigerator and plan your meals in advance, then you'll be thinking to buy products over here in the minimally processed and at times when you can, the unprocessed. So I hope that's useful to you, and let me know what you think as always. Thanks for staying to the end of this video, and I see you in another video tomorrow. Have a good day. Bye-bye.